Welcome, everybody, to the San Antonio Realty Pros podcast. I really hope you guys enjoy this upcoming episode. We intend to bring you guys the best real estate content possible, and you never know, you might learn a thing or two. So sit back and enjoy the show. Well, first of all, so this is your second time being here with us.
Yes.
The first time we were in the theater room in my house on couches and one microphone.
Yeah.
And so we've changed things up a little bit, hopefully.
Now we got our own office, headphones.
Yeah, dude. Y'all moving on up, man. Yeah. I mean, this is fancy. I feel way outclassed.
Yeah. Well,
like I should have worn a suit to this deal.
Kind of as we level up our service.
But I like your Magnum PI look.
Yeah, man.
So kind of like as we level up our services, we notice that you also continually grow and level up your services as well. So we're glad to have you in today and actually talk about some of the new stuff that you guys got going on. Some maybe we can get a little bit more in depth on some of the specializations and stuff like that too.
Well, what I want to talk to him about is the comparison between when you're buying a new home, working with somebody like Ryan, or taking the cheap stuff that the builder offers. I know that when you're trying to make some numbers work, taking what the builder has to offer because it's low to just get through the door could be beneficial.
Yeah, for sure.
But then once you sign the paperwork, go get some legit stuff because you get what you pay for, right? And if you're getting homeowners insurance for $80 a month on a $300,000 house, there's corners being cut somewhere because you're not going to get that great stuff.
Right.
Pennies on the dollar.
And we see that a lot. So, like a lot of your, big tract home builders that I guess will probably remain nameless in this.
Yeah, it's probably better.
Yeah, they offer home insurance products, and Dave's right. When it comes to like your loss, not your loss, that's insurance talk, your debt to income ratios, and if you need to get through closing and you buy that, $400 policy, annual, premium policy, you need to do what you need to do, that's, going to get you through the door, I guess, like he was saying. But a lot of those things are viewed as like when the tract homes, a lot of them, and y'all probably know more about, the terms of all this, they come with warranties on those new homes. So when you have, your big tract home builder that sells you that cheap policy, they don't really care that there's not a lot of coverage there because it's really more of a catastrophe policy. So like the house burns down on the ground, something like that. We have a big hailstorm.
Right.
Those, certain perils are going to have that coverage. But, sudden accidental discharge, a lot of those policies are limited on water damage coverage. A lot of that's going to be covered under the home's warranty anyway. So they don't have they're not really doing people wrong, I guess you'd say, for the first few years. But if you let that policy stick, and your home warranty runs out and you still have that cheap policy, if you do have one of those, odder things that an open peril policy like you should carry on your home would cover, a named peril policy like what they're offering, you're gonna be stuck with the bill. I mean, that's just it.
And it's unfortunate because a lot of people don't really take the time because they're so wrapped up in that new home buying experience. Insurance is kind of like a pain in the butt. It's like, oh God, now I got to figure out how much my insurance is going to cost, and then they get shown these numbers and they kind of just like, okay, that's perfect. That's the payment that we want. That's the house payment that we want. Right. Because it all kind of wraps up into one deal.
Right.
And
well, and I think that's like goes for like what y'all do. So like, I've been in meetings with, and no, ill feelings towards them, that they do what they need to do to make a living. But like the people that work in those sales offices for those big tract homes, you have to remember they're pushing numbers.
Yeah,
they're not there for a client. I mean, unless y'all know something different, that's always a vibe I've ever gotten.
No, David has more experience on that than most people, and because David's done a lot of new builds. Like last year, how many new builds did you guys go through? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah, and I've got one on the ground right now that's almost done. I've got another one we're doing the plans for right now. Yeah. I'm getting ready to start another one. So I usually do about 5 new builds a year, and It's very time consuming, but I like it because you get to see everything go from the ground up. But you're right. Ultimately, those sales reps, even though they're very friendly and courteous, they work for the builder. They don't work for the buyer. And I have to try and explain that to some people because they're all like, well, so-and-so is very friendly. I'm like, yes, so-and-so is very friendly because they're trying to sell their product. But I was like, if something came down and it was between you or the builder, they're going to walk the company in line.
Right.
Like, for example, this one that we're about 2.5 weeks away from closing. We're supposed to close in the 20th of December, but the plumber ran the lines wrong and put the bathroom piping into one of the bedrooms because they miscalculated the measurements. So
that's a big oops.
Yeah.
So
I'm just stand up and got a.
That's where that home warranty.
Right. And let's figure out how to say this right. So my client, if they weren't working with me,
David's trying to be very careful.
I'm trying to be correct.
Yeah,
how I say it, right? So I was representing my client, and I was in there fighting for my client. Hey, we're going to do this. We need to do that. I want an engineer to look at this. We're going to have to cut into concrete to move all this stuff, and I want it. We're going to have to do a lot of things. Whereas if my client was just there, might have got rolled over a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And because even at the end, we were still like trying to figure some stuff out. And my client talked to the guys, and they're like, tell me how this is good, right? He wasn't like he was trying to word it differently, and then the builder took it differently. And basically he was like saying, convince me that this is good, i.e., hey, we're going to have a plumber come in, run everything. They're going to do a static water test for 2 days. We're going to have an engineer come in, check out everything once we've got everything put back together, because they had to cut a couple post-tension cables, remove them, put some new ones in. And then, that's what he was looking for. Like, tell me, make me feel good about this, right?
Well, this is not, obviously it's not okay to make a big issue like that happen. Like, you've got to literally cut the floor in a brand new foundation. And the concrete ain't even cured yet. It's like
right.
Well, the sales rep, he's like, if you're not happy, we just need to cancel the contract now. If you're never going to be happy about this, and he's like, it's not our job to convince you that this is good and all this other stuff. And I'm like, hold up, time out. I was like, I think he's trying to word it this way where, hey, tell me what you're doing so I feel good about this.
Yeah.
Not so much.
I need that warm and fuzzy feeling no matter what.
That I should buy this house.
Right.
And so, but right there, several times.
Well, and
the sales rep was like,
well, what's scary about that too is that's just like, you buy a car that you're upset with. Mm-hmm. If they say they, do take the car back and everybody, washes their hands and walks away. Well, they're not going to destroy the car.
No.
They're going to go sell the car again. So what they're going to do is brush that under the rug and say, well, damn, Dave caught us, but maybe the next guy won't.
Exactly.
And they're going to sell that house and wait until the warranty has to pay for something or whatever may happen, but that's where that numbers game is, so it doesn't really matter. You're just a pog in the machine. You're coming through those neighborhoods. You're in a neighborhood or you're in a community like this where there's a lot of, turnover because of the military. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They're let's just move them through, push them through.
It's just like when I was having a house built next to Stephen. The drywaller put a hole in the water line with a nail. Ended up being full of mold. So I told the builder, I'm like, hey, I want everything that has mold on it removed and new put in. And they were like, we'll do everything but remove the 2x4s, which is the cheapest thing to do anyway.
Right.
And they're like, well, spray a herbicide on there and call it good. And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, you're asking for too much. What did they do? They did everything that they were going to do for me, and then they sold it for $20,000 more.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's
they did, and they technically, because it's a new home, there's not any disclosures that they really have to say. Well, this happened before you bought.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, there's no disclosures in the new builds.
Well, when we were going through the neighborhood for Halloween, and I saw the person handing out candy that was there, and I was like, hey, did they tell you what happened in there? She's like, oh yeah, I saw it. I saw them when they were in there working. I was going to be building in a different phase, and this house was great. Y'all did great, picking everything out. So I decided to move in here, and then I was like, well, how much did you pay for it? Because I was curious to see if they dumped the price. No, they bumped it up $20,000.
Wow.
Yep, for a remediated house.
Wow. That's because David negotiated at 30,000 down, probably.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
David's like, yeah.
That's awesome.
So never pay full price.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that's a true testament to, making sure that you have correct representation, whether it's as a realtor or, having, my way of looking at insurance is the best insurance policy is having a good agent. Yeah. Because, I mean, y'all don't do insurance every day, and I don't pretend to be a realtor, so like, I didn't know that you didn't have to have a disclosure on a new build. I thought, it all worked the same.
Yeah. All their paperwork is generated around their benefit.
Right.
It's not for the client.
Right.
All it is.
It's funny that because this is off topic insurance stuff, but like a general liability policy in theory, as long as whatever, said carpenter or drywaller, would have put that in, because I'm sure they're all subs, the DR Hortons and the Lennars and all those of the world, they don't really, they just, they sub everything out.
Yep.
So, I mean, they could have just gone back to that particular contractor and been like, hey, you screwed this up. Their general liability would have picked up the tab for whatever repairs you needed to do to make that house right. To me, a lot of my stuff, like in the insurance world, just boils down to laziness. Yeah. Like agents inherently are very lazy. Yeah. It's easier to say full coverage. It's easier to just, use those big bold words you see on Progressive commercials because that's what people recognize.
Right.
But that's to me the personal touch of having a realtor, or having having an insurance agent, even on a brand new build. Just because it's new right now, 5 years from now, it ain't gonna be new anymore. Nope.
And those policies are probably. I mean, I've never seen anybody say, "Well, this is replacement cost versus actual cash value."
Right.
And there's big things to deal with that too, because I went out and bought a brand new car, and as soon as I drove it off the lot, it wasn't worth the exact what I paid for it because it was depreciated. So there's the differences in there too. And what I like about you is, unlike some of these others where you call 800 number, you talk to somebody different all the time. Whenever somebody calls the office, they're talking to you or Stormy.
Right, exactly.
And, you both know your clients, right? Mm-hmm. So you get that personal connection too. So, and your name is on the business, right? So you're going to take care of people because your name it's just like us, right? We're going to be very picky on who we bring into the office to work with us because our name is literally the company.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to tarnish your name, man. I mean, that's the truth. It matters.
Yeah.
This is how I make my living for my family. I live in this community. I have to go to HEB. I have to see the people that I'm servicing.
Yep.
To me, if you just do the right thing every time, you don't have to worry about it.
Or at least have 100% confidence that you did everything in your power to make it right.
Right.
And that way, they may not see it that way. Sometimes it happens. It's going to happen. You're going to have that 8 or 10% chance, but at least you can have a clear conscience on saying, hey, look, I did everything that I could do.
Right.
And that's it.
Right. And that's something over the years that I've really finally adopted. When I first got into all this, I was new to sales, and, if you had a pulse, I was writing. Mm-hmm. I was going to find a way. Okay. And as the years went on, I realized that, not everybody needs to be with us. Right. We are a certain type of, clientele that we like to cater to, people that are coverage conscious, that they understand what they're buying, that they want to know about what they're buying. So we try and educate and make sure that they know, this is why you're doing what you're doing. So I think that, over the years, it's really helped me to understand that sometimes you don't fit somebody's mold, and that's okay.
Right.
Sometimes somebody's going to want to use the DR Hortons of the world and not have a realtor represent them, not worry about any of it.
Right.
And that's okay. But that's, I don't know, that's kind of my 2 cents on what that means.
Our best thing is education. At least we can, give people the information and let them decide. We don't want to press anybody.
Right. Exactly.
Like if you've had a bad real estate experience before and the real estate agent was a garbage real estate agent, or if you had a bad insurance situation before and it may not have been the agent's fault or the company for that matter, but they just didn't educate you the right way or you didn't get it, and then you don't want to deal with anybody anymore, that's on the client.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just need, and that's what David and I's big thing is, educating the public. Like, we just want, that's the reason for this whole podcast, is like, we just want to put out good, solid information. And if we can do that, we at least check that box and say, hey, look, we're doing everything that we can to make sure that people understand what they're supposed to do.
Right.
It's free will. They do what they want.
That's right. You can only lead them to it. If they don't pull the trigger, But that just goes back to, if you do the same thing, do the right thing every time, 9 times out of 10 it's going to work out. Absolutely. And that 1 time out of 10, it wasn't meant to be anyways.
Right.
Well, I want to give you a shout out since we're talking about the right thing. So my wife and my daughter were involved in a car accident. They were rear-ended by a large SUV that pushed them into the rear end of the SUV in front of them. My wife got taken to the hospital via ambulance. I was able to take my daughter in. So you wanted me to keep you updated, right? At a certain point, it was out of your hands because you're not an insurance adjuster.
Correct.
But you're like, hey, just keep me updated. And I'd update you with, hey, I'm having some issues here or there. It's taking forever for the body shop to get my car done. I swear, it was like they took it down to the frame and put it back up. But I was just reaching out to them and saying, hey, look, here's an update on stuff. And then maybe 20 minutes later, I'm getting a phone call from Tredis, the insurance adjuster. He's like, hey, Ryan told me to give you a call. What's up? I'm like, what? I was like, I was just giving you an update. But that's how customer service orientated you are. You're like, hey, you know what? Dave's not 100% happy with this process. Go to the person that can make it, or try to make it 100%.
Right.
So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's everybody once you kind of join our, R.Tackett family, is, for lack of a better word, everybody's treated as such. It doesn't matter if you have a small little renter's policy or if you've got $1 million house. Everybody deserves the same treatment. And when I buy something personally, I want it to work correctly, and 2, if it doesn't work correctly, I want to have somebody to hold accountable. Yeah. And I think that's another great thing about having, an insurance agent, a personal agent, having a real estate agent. You have someone to, go on your behalf. And like you were saying earlier, the dude that was getting, kind of the back door on the house, and you were able to convey, like, hey, this is really what we want, and be a mediary, in between the two. I think there's a lot to be said for that. In today's like instant world, you get on your phone, boom, you have it, whatever you want. Yeah. I still think that the personal touch that's involved with insurance, and real estate, I just don't see that going away. No, not in my lifetime, at least. Happen.
You can't replace it.
Right.
You can only automate so much.
Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion.
I've said it 100 times probably, and I said it a bunch of times in the podcast, is like the relationship and personal things that we do in the businesses that we're in as real estate agents, as insurance company owners and insurance agents. Those personal relationships, you can automate and technology it to death, but only so much is going to get around and create those links. You got to have that relationship touch in there. You got to have that personal feel to the business, to the system, because at the end of the day, if you take all of the personal connections out of businesses, then we become androids.
Yeah, there's got to be some emotion in it.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, you can't. We're human beings, so we have to. We can integrate technology, and that's great. Speeding up services and systems, and using an analytical data to check out what's better for the clients. Right. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a real estate agent, right, and a client, or an insurance agent and a client, or whoever else that are actually handling those relationships, and that's important.
Yeah, and buying a house is a big deal. I mean, that should be an emotional thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
Some people, some people buy 10, 15, 20 houses in their life. Some people buy one. Yeah. And in my personal opinion, every time you would do it, whether it's once in your whole life or dozens of times, it should always be a big deal.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a huge investment in money and time. I mean, owning a house isn't just about the money. There's a lot of effort and time and love that goes into a house. Yeah. To me, taking the emotion out of that, I mean, it kind of just honestly takes the fun out of it. I mean, what do you want to go buy a house? Yeah. I don't know anything about the whole like open door thing other than I see signs from time to time. But to me, I mean, what's the fun in that? Why wouldn't you want to have a realtor drag you around to 40 houses and say, I love this one, I hate this one? Yeah. To me, that seems fun. It should be fun.
Yeah.
And you take, go to lunch. I mean, I don't know I know y'all are the realty pros, man. Y'all are out here killing it, but I don't know how y'all structure your days, but it's got to be better than hitting an app and opening a door on Open Door and doing something like that.
Yeah, and we do it too. We've shown Redfin and Open Door and what's the other Perch, showing those houses.
See, I didn't even know there was that many.
It's very emotionless. I actually showed a client an Open Door property, and it felt so
transactional. Versus,
well, not only that, like when we walked into the house, because they kind of institutionalized the colors and just the way that the house is.
Just white.
It's just whites and taupes and all those colors, like the tans, and it's just very empty.
Plain.
And it's just a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't feel the hominess of the house anymore. It's kind of like they come in and they castrate the house. It's kind of a weird. It's just institutional, like walking into a mental asylum. It's just really like blue lights, and it's just weird. Yeah. You don't get that feeling, and I haven't shown any Open Doors at all that have the people still living in there because of the way that their policies are. When Open Door comes in and you ask for them to buy you out, they basically send your information to them. And they look at the comps basically in the area. They don't even come out. It's all phone and email. And then so
they buy the house from you? And then I didn't know that.
So they'll give you a cash value on the property. I
didn't know that.
Minus fees and expenses.
Air quote, fair market value.
Yeah. And well, they offer you, like, let's just use a round number. Say they offer you $150,000 for your house. Initial offer, $150,000. Then they come in and schedule inspections and repairs and all that stuff. And then they take that number out of the original quote and their fees out of that original quote. So you're left with 120. We'll just say 110 or 120,000. And you walk away cash in hand with 120,000, and you could do it in as little as 15 days. But the only time that I've ever seen that, I had one client that I used that used Open Door to sell her house, and I sold her a new home. The house was in really bad shape. And they were in a very big hurry they didn't want to put the house on the market. They were the house was so small, and they had kids at home and a bunch of stuff going on in their lives. They were just like, we don't want to deal with showing the property and having to clean up things and then getting lowball offers. She's like, at least if I get, this process started, I know what I'm going to walk away with. And so I can understand that as like, the simplicity.
Like a necessity.
Yeah, like a simple thing that somebody needs to do in a pinch. But you lose so much money.
See, I didn't even know that. I thought they listed it for you. I didn't know that. So basically, like, they're a big investment house.
Once they close on the property,
they just buy stuff.
Once they close on the property and they own it, they will lock it down and do all the repairs and paint and all that stuff, and then they'll open it and put locks on it for an Open Door. And then from that point forward, it's listed on the market.
So they're like an internet glamorous version of We Buy.
They're called the
houses.
iBuyer. Right. They consider it an iBuyer these days.
I'll be down.
Like the iPhone, the iBuyer. So that's.
I did not know that.
The Redfins and all that stuff.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look what I learned today.
Yeah, we've done some in-depth, pretty in-depth podcasts on trying to figure. Like I tried to get it done at my house.
Yeah.
Just to see what they would offer. They wouldn't even come in the neighborhood.
Really?
If it's gated, don't even call them.
Yeah. Really?
They won't do a gated.
I live on an acre. They won't do an acre.
Really?
Right.
They have a niche, right? And so they know it.
Yeah.
That's good for them. They use analytics and data to
go them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you look all the way down, you'll see where it shows like the actual cost. Like, so on average, I think it's like 8%.
It was a
maybe
big percentage number.
Maybe 8% if you use a realtor, right? But for them, it was like 10 to 12%. But they quoted it as being cheaper than using a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. Because once you start adding all these little fees in here, because you still have to pay, even though they're coming to buy your house and you're a company, you have to pay them 3%.
Yeah, because they have realtors that only do their stuff.
That do just the transactional portions, get it through title, get it all that done.
So Open Door doesn't pay them; the seller pays them. So if you think that you're going to try and save some money and cut out a realtor, you're still paying for a realtor.
Huh.
And then
you just never get to see them.
Yeah, yeah.
And whereas
that guy signed up good.
Yeah,
he's just sitting by,
right?
He's doing nothing.
Yeah.
Well, they make you pay for the title policy, right? Which most of the time the seller pays for a title policy anyway. But there's just certain other little things that they want you, the seller, to pay for that can be negotiated if you're using a realtor.
Yeah.
So it's just, it fits a certain, like I've even called them a couple times on properties I had listed because they were taking forever to sell because of the market. That community, they were still building and had a lot to offer, and you can't compete against the builder that's offering, $30,000. Yeah. So, and they wouldn't even come close to even a reasonable number that we could even work with.
Right.
And then one of them was in Killeen. They don't even do Killeen, so they're
metropolis areas, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Quantity versus quality.
Right.
I don't know, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to spend a lot of my effort trying to, focus. Like in Killeen, the housing market sucks. Mm-hmm. It's like a lot of the builders don't even build a lot of spec homes like they do here, which blows my mind because Fort Hood's like the biggest friggin' military base out there. One of them. And you would think that there would be a lot of transition around there and stuff like that, but no. The median house income, house price for Killeen is like $120,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we were selling this house for like $186 or something like that. So well above what the median.
And here, that house wouldn't last 5 days on the market.
Shoot, 5 hours.
Anything below 190 here, it's gone. If it's in decent shape.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So this whole area is crazy.
It is. It's nuts.
Hey, I was driving out to go look at this new build I have coming up, and going down 1516 on the right-hand side, just past Judson High School. They're putting in another community. They got it all torn down, and they're working on all the flat work right now.
Wow.
I mean, it's just insane. Every time I turn around,
it is. Well, and like New Braunfels, man. New Braunfels is, everybody probably that's listening in this general area knows how crazy that is. But this is just a quick story. We insured a guy that bought an older house in that older part of New Braunfels. I can't remember what street he was on, but somewhere in that like Mesquite Street area, just the older part of New Braunfels. I mean, everybody that's around there knows what that's about.
It's on the north side of 35?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, this guy buys his house, and the loan officer, it's just over 1,100 square feet, and it was built in the late 20s, and it had been completely redone. So I mean, I had the pictures to back it all up. But this loan officer sends me the request for evidence of insurance, and the request has $325,000 on it, with a purchase price of $365,000.
Wow.
And I was like, nah. I was like, nah, there's no way. And I called and I was like, hey, like, are you sure? Like, because this is some crazy square foot pricing here. She was like, yeah, and it appraised. And she sent me the appraisal. It appraised. I mean, we were able to do it. We can pretty much fit whatever mold we need to, as long as it all makes sense on paper. And with the appraisal, I mean, it was a no-brainer that we could do it. But when I first saw it, I was like, there ain't no way.
Yeah, it's like 300 a square foot.
Dude, it's not. And it's a nice house. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But
1,100 square feet.
Dang, dude.
That's crazy.
Time to go down Mesquite Street and start looking for some fixer-uppers.
Dude. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Yeah, that whole area is just, anyway. Y'all, I'm sure y'all know all about it.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, you first.
Okay, so I got a really quick question. We'll get back to insurance in a little bit. So, just this past year, this earlier, it was like April time frame.
Yeah.
I switched over to your company.
Yeah, it was just getting warm.
I really want to know how. Explain to me how, and this is no bullshit. How did you save me what was it, $2,100 a year?
Yeah, man.
Just explain and so I had big Mayhem company, right? Big company that was I was using. Which is a great company, obviously. It's just a big, huge company. And they paid massive football players to do their advertising. So maybe that's the reason why, right?
Hey, that advertising costs, man.
Explain the reason why, with the carrier that I chose, or not that I chose, but ended up being the best fit for me, which was Safeco.
Safeco, yeah, you ended up Safeco.
So can you explain how in the world that's even possible? My house payment went down $200 a month.
Yeah. So it's not uncommon, man. I mean, life happens, and life happens. It does. Seriously, it does. That wasn't a yeah. And, those things just kind of take off and they creep up, and that's why it's important to make sure that you, shop your stuff from, periodically, because before you know it, especially when stuff's rolled into your house payment, you don't see it, especially in our area, because, every year the taxes keep going up. So a lot of people just chalk it up to, well, my taxes went up again. And unless you really compare the numbers, you don't. It just happens. You get lost in the sauce. In your particular case, we just shop the stuff. Safeco's a great carrier. They compete against, one of the big five that you were with on a day-to-day basis. And the coverage is either superior or at the same par. Right. A lot of people don't realize that, and it's, we don't see any of it. We get, your quote unquote insurance score. But the reality of that is it's just your credit score, and a lot of times, especially around times that you're purchasing homes, your credit gets run, more than often, and you'll get those dings and your credit may take a dump at the time that you're purchasing your home. It reflects in your insurance policy. So, and it costs us money to do it. So it costs us money to run that stuff with LexisNexis. So once you're in, you're in. We don't rerun it. Okay. So you may pay your house off the next year and your credit be at 850. So we don't know. Right. And when you go to reshop that stuff, if you did have something like that change, then it reflects. Yeah. But because it costs the insurance company money to do it, they don't do it at renewal. There's very few instances where an insurance company will go through their whole book and rerun credit. They do it, but it's once in a decade type thing. So that's one factor that can help you when you're looking to shop your stuff. On top of the fact that a lot of times carriers just take rate increases, and when you have an existing book of business that's taken a hit because of storms or whatever claims issues, sometimes those can get out of hand, and there are variables. So you'll have, 99% of your book take, $10 a year or something for easy math, and that 1% take $1,000 a year, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It just happens. I wish I could have a better explanation of why that happens, but that's kind of. But
I just feel like my biggest concern, when you first told me the number, I was like, "There's no way the coverage is going to be the same."
Yeah,
I was like, "I'm going to get some crap insurance, but it's cheap." Yeah, and then I was like. So what are the coverages? And then you kind of laid it out for me. You were like, everything is apples to apples. It's literally, and in some cases, you were telling me this is actually better because we do this, and that.
Right.
The coverage is this, and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even realize that.
Right.
And I think you had told me something about one of my liability coverages was lower than it really needed to be.
Right. Yeah. And that's just kind of the culture that we've created. In our agency, if being an independent agent, we have the tools. I can literally sell everybody. I mean, if all it was about was making a sale, I would never not sell someone. Right. Okay. If all we did was focus on how much money you're paying. Mm-hmm. Now we understand. I mean, I get it. Bottom line's important. And if we can save you money, go us. Right. That's even better for everybody's cause. But this goes back to doing the right thing. We just do the same thing every time. We want the client to have the right coverage. That's incredible. And that's just what we do. So you have, somebody that walks in with state minimums, out of a USAA policy, which is notorious for coming in like that. We explain to you, why you shouldn't have that coverage and the coverage that you should have. Yeah. And I know that Stormy, gets tired of me in there because I sound like a robot. I know that, but I've got this in my head the way I do it, and everybody, no matter if you've got an '89 Hoopty or you've got a 2020 Lexus, you're gonna get the same treatment because at the end of the day. Just because you have an '89 Hoopty right now doesn't mean that next year you're not going to have that 2020. Right. Everybody, in my personal opinion, should be looked at as being equal in the eyes of business. If you're spending money with us, you deserve the same treatment as anybody else. And that kind of got down on a tangent on that, but that's how we view that coverage. So when you have somebody walk into our office, they're going to get that level of treatment every time because we only sell the same stuff. Yeah. Now, if you were just determined to have the state minimum and all that, sometimes we will do that if that is exactly what you want. But to be perfectly frank with y'all, we've let a lot of business walk out the door just because, that's not the type of reputation we want to build.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you've saved $20 a month, but you owe some, joker $100,000 in an auto claim, or, you don't have the proper coverage on your house, and you have this big bill in your hand, you're not going to blame Safeco. You're not going to blame, the other joker that you hit. You're going to blame me. Yeah. And it's not worth it to me.
That's a perfect example of like kind of what happened to me a bunch of years ago. I think it was probably back in 2009. I was involved in a motorcycle accident. And a kid, 16-year-old kid, driving, guy had his license probably a month or something.
Poor guy.
And I'm going down a residential street, semi-residential in town. And this was in Mississippi when I was living back in Mississippi. And I'm just going down the street, and the cross traffic at the intersection was supposed to stop. And then he and I, which were coming at each other, were supposed to yield to the turn of whatever the traffic is. So he was waiting like he was at a four-way stop to turn to his left, which would be my right.
I got you.
I'm going down through there like 30 miles an hour on this motorcycle, big Harley Davidson. And right at the last second, this kid decides he's going to turn because he thinks that it's a four-way or something. I don't know what he was thinking. I'm not in his head or anything, but my inclination was that the guy thought that I was going to stop because he was at a four-way, which wasn't a four-way. So I T-boned this kid doing at least 20 because, the motorcycle last second. I put my feet down on the ground so hard, my toes went through my shoe, like to the end of my shoe. When my feet hit the ground, like when I hit the brakes. Dang. So,
look at his shoes. He doesn't wear great shoes.
Yeah.
So his insurance company. This is like kind of a weird thing. So we ended up having to go to court. His insurance company didn't have enough coverage to pay for all the legal and medical bills that were involved with it, right? Because he only had like liability insurance,
right?
So his only coverage was like $20,000, and so by the time the medical, because I broke a bone in my right leg and a bone in my right shoulder, and then I fractured my nose and had a bunch of scars on my nose and stuff, and so by the time it was all said and done with, my uninsured motorist coverage, which I think I was with the USA at the time, had to kick in like $50,000 to cover what he couldn't cover.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, it really cost me my insurance risk ability or whatever you call it. I don't know what that speak is, but
your risk assessment.
In turn, it eventually will cost me more money in the long run, right? Because now I've got a claim on my side that's kind of like, how does that work out?
In theory, it may, as long as it's filed correctly in regards to, how the claim is filed in that specific scenario, as long as the carrier with, if it was USA, as long as they filed it correctly, like it's an uninsured motorist claim, it wouldn't affect you.
Okay.
But in the totality of like rates, like across the board, it does affect everybody.
If your 16-year-old kid's running around with liability insurance,
right,
you got something going on here.
Right.
That's why when Ethan got his license, I got an umbrella policy.
That's right.
There you go.
So don't look out for my son, but I'm covered if he makes a mistake.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, and that's why it's important, man. It's important. You buy from big box stores. Your Geicos, your USAs of the world. That's just a big call center.
Yeah.
They have their place, and they are reputable carriers and companies. But at the end of the day, it's just like y'all's deal. If you go to a Horton or one of the communities where the people that are working in there, they're pushing numbers, and they don't necessarily have the best interests of anybody in mind but the company.
Yeah.
And there's no one to hold accountable. So in that case, say that young man, was told, hey, this is your quote unquote full coverage policy or something like that. He's going to call the 1-800 number of whatever carrier he was with and get, some random person that did not write the policy. There's no one to hold accountable, and that's to me another just great example of the personal touch of having, an agent to call and be like, hey, this is my situation. Where are we going to be okay?
Right.
Like when Dave called about the accident, that his family had been in, I didn't have to worry about anything.
Right.
As soon as he called, a lot of times, as an agent, if you've not done the right thing every time, you're like, oh man, what did I write that dude?
Right.
Doesn't matter. What we do the same thing every time. So when I have something like that, I can just hang up the phone, go on about my day.
For sure.
I don't have to worry about, oh my God, is this dude gonna be okay?
Right.
Did we do the right thing here?
Yeah.
Is he gonna have enough coverage? Am I gonna end up in a lawsuit?
Right.
We don't worry about that. And I've created that culture with our other agents. We have 4 other agents besides Stormy and I throughout the state doing stuff. And if they send something to me that has like statements, something like that, I've kicked a lot of them back. We just don't do that.
Right.
That's not what we do.
Yeah, that's something we don't give. That's the same way with David and I. We're not in the market of giving subpar service either, because at the end of the day, it doesn't do us any good.
Right.
You're building your business on the name brand, and when you build your brand,
and who are you really helping at the end of the day?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, does a client really get anything out of that?
Yep.
You cut corners here, cut corners there. At the end of the day, when something is to come back on you, you cut the damn corners.
Yeah. For sure.
What does it really help?
Yeah. There was something that I learned back in the day when I used to sell cars and stuff, and I was in the car business, and you see this a lot. If you treat a customer, really good, and they have a decent experience, they may tell a couple people about you and they have a good experience, they might tell a couple more people. But if you do somebody wrong, they're going to go out of their way to
everyone
trash. I mean,
and people that don't even have a car.
They're going to go out of their way to do everything they can to do to make sure that everybody knows that you're a piece of crap. And so we just can't, in our business, we just can't have that. And I'm glad that you go that extra mile, because it means a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of companies they're checking boxes and taking names, and they're building what you call a book. They're building a book of business,
right? Yeah,
a rotating book of business.
Pog and the Turner deal, man. I mean, that's
just like
that's, I don't know. That's not what we want to do. Obviously, we're in growth mode. We're coming into our 5th year in July. And we want to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing really good. Our agents are selling a lot, and we're servicing a lot of clients in this area and really across the state now. And we're happy with it, but we don't want to ever lose that personal touch. When you call us, the world stops.
Yep.
Okay. You are the most important person at that moment. And we don't ever want to, I own the damn place.
Yeah.
So it's not going to change.
Sure.
So that's what I want to maintain, because that's what I want. You guys have helped out, family members and friends of mine. And some of the friends and family members that y'all have helped aren't exactly the easiest people to please. Okay. And
but are they happy?
Yeah, not one complaint.
There you go.
There's a particular person that I could think of that I'll remain nameless. When that person called me, we're like, man, that dude knows his stuff. He was on time, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And I was like, huh.
Yeah. It's a good thing you didn't call me, because I'm not on time already. I'm very rarely on time.
Here's a funny thing. It's not funny, but it is funny. So, like, you're selling a house in Rockport, or you sold a house in Rockport, and they're having issues with the realtor. And a particular family member said, "Well, she's no Dave Karras."
Yeah, man, that's the truth. Yeah.
So that's what we strive for. I think all 3 of us in this room try to get that, because I have probably at least 40 clients with you.
Yeah, at least.
I've never had any of them say anything bad about you.
Yeah.
In fact, they're like, "Oh man, I just got the phone with Ryan. He's awesome. Blah blah blah. Saved me all this money. Give me better insurance coverage." I mean, one of the guys in the Seguin Fire Department just happened to see me write a post on Facebook. He talked to you. And when he switched his homes and his boat and everything like that, he went from state minimums with USAA to being protected right
the correct way,
and still saved $2,600.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I mean that's
good, but you don't hold the record yet.
Right. Yeah. Mine was only like 2,100. Which
yeah.
It was like a 2/3 off. I'm like, yo.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it's so important to like align yourself with like minds. If y'all send business my way, I send business your way, and it has really nothing other to do on my side at least. Like when I send somebody, and I'm a insurance guy, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't come to me and be like, hey, who do you sell your house with?
Right.
But I have friends and family, and we're able to send what we can. And the main reason, the only benefit that I get is that I know that I'm not going to get a call saying, Ryan, why the hell did you send me to Karis Randolph property?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get that call. That's the biggest benefit, in my opinion, about doing it.
Yeah.
And I cannot say the same for other realtors that I have sent stuff to over the years. In this particular case, I have not had that issue, and that's worth everything. That's worth, because the last thing you want to do is send someone that you trust, or personally know, to go get a service that they need, and then that service not be up to par, because then again, who do they blame?
Yeah.
You.
Right.
Yep. And it's kind of like loaning family money and stuff, or loaning friends money. Like there just becomes this weird tension between you, and you're like,
well, that was your guy.
Yeah.
Your guy said. Your guy this.
I totally got screwed because your guy sucked.
Right.
Right.
And that's great, man. That means everything to me, being able to do that, and just know that when I send somebody else's number, it's done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hear about it again.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with us. Like whenever I'm like, just talk to Ryan first.
Yeah.
Get a quote. Because I know that you're going to treat them as a family member and not as a number, as a person. Oh, there's another tick mark in the monthly status report.
Right. Well, and that's something, like I said earlier, we're growing. That's something that I don't want to get to the point where, as we grow, obviously you're in business, you want to make money, you want to, become as big as you can. That's the point of, or at least I think that's the point of being in business. But I don't want to ever get to the point where we're churning so much through that we ever lose that touch. So, if we can just keep the pace, and have 3 or 4 people, good appointments today, talk about it, take the time. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I end up being long-winded. And I know some people don't care about that, but I do the same thing every time. And then when something does happen and they call and they're like, oh my God, we have this issue. Be like, oh, well, yes, Susie, do you remember when we talked about it? Blah, blah, blah. You're going to be good. So I know that I've caught some people giving me some side eye, like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, but
I got an appointment to be at in 5 minutes.
Right. But it is what it is, and that's how we do things, and that's how I'm going to continue to do them.
Consistency is the key. So
it makes you know your stuff.
Yeah.
So do you have anything big planned for R.Tackett Insurance for 2020?
I don't know, man. I've got some stuff working in my mind. I'd love to open a second location. An agent of mine is killing it out in Palestine, so out in East Texas. And so shout out Casey Vickers out in Palestine. I think if we could open a second location out there, I think that would be optimal. Other than that, we're just going to keep doing what we do. I'd like to hire a couple more agents in the local area. If anybody's looking to become an insurance agent, it's about as sexy as it sounds. But I can really teach you how to do it.
Yeah. Also too, like you're looking for other agents that are not really happy with the way things are going in their current, because that's kind of what happened with you, right? You're with another company and you just saw past it and you were like, I just want to do my own thing. And
I started at it doesn't matter now. I started at Farm Bureau, and it was a good place to learn. I learned a lot. They teach you well, but I realized that I was always just going to be working for the man, and as an independent, you're really able to build out your own business and do what you want. Even at the agents who work under me, it's their business. They do what they want, and you get caught up in those captive agencies, like Farm Bureau, State Farm and all that. They have these crazy numbers you got to meet and sell life insurance and all that. I just keep my lights on, make sure my family's fed, and everybody that works for me, you can make as much money as you want, as little money as you want. Yeah. It's your business.
Just treat the clients the right way.
Right. Do the right thing every time, So that's kind of my plans. I wish I had a big grand design, but, I've been.
So what's special? You got something special happening this year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, does he? Because I went into his office to go deliver some Christmas spirits.
Yeah.
And it looked like an Amazon distribution center in there.
Oh, boy.
And I asked Stormy, I'm like, you guys getting a lot of different marketing material in? She's like, no, it's for the
wedding.
The wedding.
Yeah.
Wedding. Yep, getting married in February.
Put a ring on it.
I did. Yeah, or I'm gonna, I guess. Well, I guess I did because it's an engagement ring. Yeah. Sorry, I'm new to this whole wedding thing.
Don't
like,
worry. I'll take care of you and tell you what you need to do.
Yeah, for sure. So,
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, man, February. So, can't come soon enough. I'm ready to move past the wedding planning. That's not been my favorite thing.
I saw her. She looked like she had fun, at least on Facebook photos at her bachelorette party. Like she scored a lot of cool things.
Yeah. She's living it up. She's soaking it all in. So I told her, just do what you need to do. It's just only invite me to the stuff I have to go to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some advice, right? The wedding is not for you. That is her day.
Yep.
Yes.
Nothing about you.
Yes.
You're only there to do two things: stand there and repeat some words after a preacher, and cut the cake.
Heck yeah.
That is it.
You know what? I can take that responsibility.
Yeah.
She can have all that other stuff. You know, I just wanted to marry her.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the whole marrying thing was such a task.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, it's not if you go to the county.
Yeah, looking back, we were talking about that actually not long ago when the millionth thing that just had to be planned or whatever purchased.
Well, you guys are so busy. Like she has her own like big time career going on, and busy
man.
traveling all the time. And then here you are, business owner extraordinaire, and like running around doing all your stuff. Like it's got to be a nightmare just to.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and on top of that, we decided to buy a house and renovate it in the middle of this. So just dump that right in there.
Yeah.
So that's almost done too, thank goodness. So it's all the major life changes on about 9 weeks, 9 week period.
Right.
But come March, you're going to be so bored because you don't have any planning to do.
That's what
the house is going to be moved into.
We talked about that too. I was like, I'm going to have to get a second job.
Yeah.
Because I've been going 7 days a week since, I don't know, August. And it's just like, that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier before we even started. She was asking me what we were going to do this weekend. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
She's like, it's Friday.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. Forgot.
Exactly.
So
yeah, that's crazy, man. You just get so wrapped up in daily activities, you kind of lose sight. Especially with the holiday, like Christmas fell on a Wednesday.
Yeah, and it was like 80, so it doesn't even feel like it.
This episode is going to actually drop on January 1st.
Sweet,
the first episode of the year. So take this opportunity to reach out to Ryan at R.Tackett Insurance at.
Yeah, so best way to reach us, obviously, we love meeting everybody. So if you're in the area or, you want to make the trip from wherever you are, we're downtown Cibolo, so we're 101 South Main Street. You can always call us. Office line is 210-971-8808. Also visit our website. We just revamped our website, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's supposed to launch the first week of January, so not the first, but that following is the 6th.
Yeah.
So we are supposed to launch our new site. You can reach us on there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So that's all Stormy's realm. She's running all the social media, doing a great job at it. You can also reach us at info. That's INFO at Tackett, T as in Tom, ACKETTINS, like short for insurance.com. That's a great email. We'll just go straight to the agency, and all the agents can get to that and cater to you, whatever you need.
So go by Ryan's office. Give him your deck sheets. Go across the street to Harmon's for some barbecue.
That's right.
Come back, see what he saved you, and start the new year off right with some more money in your pocket.
Yeah, it's a great time. Everybody's New Year's resolutioning. Everybody's losing weight. Save some money on your bills. Get your stuff right. Yeah,
not
same.
Everybody.
I'm in a wedding, dude. I'm supposed to be in my own damn wedding, and I looked at myself the other day, and I was like, damn, boy. You need to do some sit-ups.
There you go.
It's just a fuel tank for your love machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you guys figure out how much money you're going to save, you can just go right over across the street to Old Main and have a celebratory beer.
That's right.
Awesome. So, well, thanks for coming in, Ryan.
Heck yeah, man. I love doing these things. So hope this year we can do them a few more times.
Maybe quarterly.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends. Like I said, we tried to get things set up to where we could do a podcast a week, and so, but we also did that earlier this year, and we got so darn busy with our stuff we just
with
weren't
selling.
So now David and I are blocking out time and saying, hey, look, on this day we are recording at least one episode for the week. So lots more info to come. If you need to email us, you can reach us at info@SanAntonioRealtyPros.com, and our Facebook and Instagram handle are at San Antonio Realty Pros, and our website is SanAntonioRealtyPros.com.
There's a theme there because we are the San Antonio.
That's right.
Realty.
And we try to make it simple and memorable.
There's no mayhem here.
Well, we'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah.
Catch you next week.